Buonasera. Scusate, io non parlo italiano. So, but I speak Spanish, so I guess most of you will understand some of the things that I say, but I will continue in English. So I'm happy to see all of you here. This is my second time at the beautiful Lugano Box Days Ticino. It's a great conference for those of you that have been here for the first time. Hopefully we'll see you next time and be more and more engaged and talk with everybody else. It's a great place to be. So the topic of today is writing effective documentation, and I promise this is the only boring slide that I have for you. My name is Andres Almiray. I'm a Java champion. I come from Mexico, but I currently live here in Switzerland, in Basilea. As a matter of fact, I work for Canoe, it's one of the sponsors of this beautiful conference. And one of the things that we do on Canoe is that we make use of many different technologies. And one of the technologies, or at least some of the technologies, as a matter of fact, that I'm going to discuss today with you, happens to be a particular tool that allows you to write documentation in, I would say, in a much happier, engaging, productive way. Okay? I tend to speak very fast when I get excited at a particular topic, so you will notice eventually during the talk when I go fast, just raise your hand, say, Andres, please slow a moment. Also, we got 45 minutes or so, or 50 minutes, so please feel free to raise your hand whenever you have a question, or if you want to wait at the end, it's up to you. I really like to have a conversation, and thanks to try to make things a little bit more interactive. Hopefully, I will get some of you to ask me questions during the talk. All right, so let's get into the topic. We are developers. We love programming. It doesn't matter which language. Of course, I hope that most of you are Java developers and not so much PHP or JavaScript. Whatever we do, we actually don't write that much documentation. Personally, I don't write it because it's not as fun as writing code, isn't it? Right? And the other thing is that when you write documentation, if you get convinced by your manager that you need to write documentation because you are the one that wrote that particular important piece of code that goes into production, you're the only one that understands it, you hate it all the way. Because of the tooling, because of the syntax, because again, it's not as much fun as creating code, isn't it? Right? Well, what if there were a better way to write a documentation? Because right now we have access to, I don't know, which format do you pick? HTML, PDF, LaTeX, DocBook, and ugly XML. So there are many choices, but there are also many pitfalls and caveats of using one of these formats. Also, which tool do you use? Do you use an Office-like solution, whether it's the free one or the paid one, or I don't know, right? So what I want to show you today is a syntax whose name is Asciidoc, and a project, or actually, as a matter of fact, an ecosystem built around a project called Asciidoctor. So, given that most of you, I will assume, are Java developers, I'm going to showcase a series of tools that work with Java on the JVM, are related to the IDEs that you use in your daily work, so that you can attach documentation to your projects. What's interesting about the Ascii Doc Syntax and the Asciidoctor projects is that they are quite mature. The Ascii Doc Syntax is, if I'm not mistaken, is 12 or close to 13 years old. So it's it's not very old, it's mature. We prefer that word. And it was born in the Python community. So there used to be a Python command line that you use to transform Asciidoc sources into something that we like to call backends. What is a backend? It could be HTML, PDF, EPUB for your mobile readers, or DocBook, LaTeX, something else. And then after a while, there were some people inside the GitHub organization that find out that Asciidoc existed because Markdown, which you may be more familiar with, was not enough for the kind of documentations and the documents that they needed to write or they needed to generate. So they took over Asciidoc, created Asciidoctor, and it worked for a while. And eventually somebody else, a fellow friend of mine, Java champion, Dan Allen, took over the project. And this is where the whole community exploded in a very positive way, because now we have more people using and learning about Asciidoctor. By the way, Asciidoctor is written in Ruby, but we can run it inside the JVM thanks to JRuby. So I'm going to showcase some pieces of the syntax to let you know how quickly you can get started, how you can add documentation to existing builds and projects. It doesn't matter if you use Maven or Gradle. I have my personal preference for build tool, but both of them will work, and also for any particular ID. So now I'm going to jump into the live coding portion of the talk. And if something breaks, then that means that the demo is actually live. So we'll see how things go. Okay, let's begin. I already have a very basic project set up. And this project, let me show you what we have. It's already built. So let's do a clean. It's Gradle, if I'm not mistaken, and I can also do a Maven clean. It's both Maven and Gradle, this project. All right. So let me show you what we have. There is the Gradle build file, the Maven build file, and some Ascii doc sources in a specific path. This is just being conformant to the conventions of the build tool, and also have some production sources will come into play a bit later. So let's see the contents of the project. An index. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, perhaps. Come on. Should have done earlier. So let's move this. And let's make the font bigger, so now you can see better. All right. So in this file, we have something that looks like a title. And then if that is your first idea, then you will be correct. Then we have some additional metadata about the document. It could be the version, the author, or maybe some additional, I don't know, like a one line or one sentence, the description of the document, and then some paragraphs. In the first paragraph, we have something that looks like a link. Now, for those of you that know Markdown, the text in the link comes first, and then comes the URL. In the case of Asciidoc, it's the other way around. You usually think about the link first, and then whatever text comes after. Okay, right now, I can render this document. So I'm going to do it in this way. And then I'm going to show why I like Gradle versus the other options. So this will just compile my documentation. Notice that I eventually will start to get things mixed. I'm writing or programming documentation. Am I generating or compiling documentation? That is for a good reason. You'll see why. So this has generated Asciidoc. Yeah. There is. I've got something called a table of contents. There's nothing there. There's a title, the author, and also some additional metadata. When was the last time I generated this document? Okay, so far so good. So what I'm going to do is leave Gradle running in the background with the incremental compilation feature that they added a few releases ago. And I could say just execute the Asciidoctor task, or because I know that it is only one of them. This is one of the things that I like Gradle. Specify the minimum set of characters, and this will keep running that particular task. So let's leave it in the background. And now we're going to say something like, welcome to Box Days Ticino. And we want this to be marked especially, so we're going to put it in bold. And then we say something like, hope you, and let's put this in italics. It should be better. Io non parlo italiano. So it will be in italics. Surprise, surprise. Hopefully I wrote it also good instead of pronouncing it. And then we can say something, here's some monospace content for you. All right, save it. Then the incremental compiler goes and does its job, and then I just need to refresh. And I have network, yeah, perfect. So you see now this is in bold, this is in italics, and this is in monospace. So what is important is not that I'm able to write the content, it's just that the syntax that I need in order to write the content does not get in the way. If we were to write this using HTML, then you will see the div and the p tag and the I, bold, and it's a lot of noise versus the amount of content that you write. It's much better in the Markdown because it's also shorter, but in the case of Asciidoc, it's even shorter and it's more consistent. How do you write bold italic in Markdown? You can put double stars and double underscores, right? Or you can also do double underscores and double stars, so both ways. But what we want, the style is bold italic. Asciidoc says you have to put the stars first, this one, and then italic. If I want to do it the other way around, it would not work because it's only one style. Come on. Render. I think it's a little bit with the network. So you see it's a little bit slanted, so it's actually italic. Good. Then I can continue going forward and say, let's add a new section. This will be my first section. And in this section contains some elements. This section contains a list of speakers, such as, for example, we got Mario, which gets most of the people at this hour. Then we got Array, which gets a great presentation on Kubernetes. And then who else is here? Lucas, he spoke about SQL. Okay, let's leave that like. So now you see it's very easy to come up with a list of names, and then you got it, and notice that. We got our first section appearing there. So what happens if I add another section? So this will be the second section, and we have more speakers, such as, I'm sorry, Svetlana, but I don't know your last name. I should. So let's just leave it like this, myself, and then I think we got Philip, and save, and refresh, and then we got a second section. Nice. What if we want to have numbers here? That would be very simple. I can go and anywhere in the file, but I will do it here on the top. I can just say something like this. And that starts to look a little bit weird. So what is that? First, it enables these numbers, but if you're thinking that they are related to the words that I put in the sections, that is not exactly true. I can cut and paste this section first, like this, and then do a refresh. And now the second has number 1. So this is one of the things that Asciidoc keeps track, is that it will number the sections depending on what you want, and you can skip numbers and start renumbering from wherever you want. You can have lists that have numbers. For example, now this will be number. Yep, there we go. So what's going on here with this particular element that you see on the top, this is what we call attributes. Attributes is just a fancy name for something that we use every day when we create our programs. Attributes are actually variables. Don't believe me? Let's define a new one, like a conference name. And let's put this here, this value, boxed date Chino 2016. And now we're going to make use of that variable. We'll use the braces and then the name of the attribute variable. Save. Go back. Refresh. And there we go. You can have variables inside your document. So if you have variables, what else can you do? Well, You can evaluate variables, not just displace the values. So if I can evaluate variables, can I have conditionals? Yes, you can. Aha, exactly. That's the phase that I made that, oh, variables, cool. Okay, so what else do we have in programming languages? There's a particular piece of code that is not yet ready. We don't want to delete it. So what do? We comment it out. Or maybe we get some hints of, I don't know what's going on here, and only God now knows what I wrote, blah, blah, blah. That's the joke. I don't want to have the second section. So what I'm going to do is add 4 characters like this. And whenever I want to stop, I will add the other 4 characters. Save, re-render. Magically, the second section is gone from the final document, but not from the original sources. That's pretty cool. Or I can just simply say this is bad. This is a single line comment. Okay. And you may be thinking, Andres, you're generating HTML, so it is very likely that this is getting translated into an HTML comment, so it will be in the final document, right? All right. Can I see the source? No. Let's copy this, copy. I don't know how I configure my Safari so that I never see the source, but I can show it in Firefox. View page source, blah, 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 style sheet. And is there any place? Whoa, what did I do? Number 1. Oh. Make it bigger. Search for second. There's nothing there. So the content is effectively gone from the final document. Cool. All right. So what else can we do? We can write tables. For those of you that know Markdown, how do you write a table? You could use pipes, depending on a particular extension of Markdown. Because is there an official extension, official grammar for Markdown? There is none. Is there an official extension mechanism for Markdown? There is none. So you're up to the mercy of the particular toolchain to figure out if you can write tables using pipes or tables using HTML tags or maybe other syntax. In Asciidoc, no problem. We got a syntax for you. Let's say it will be this, 1, 2, 3. You only need 4 characters, 1, 2, 3. And then we can say stuff like, if I'm not mistaken, it will be how many columns we want. We want 3 columns. I want the first one indentated to the left. The next one will be indentated in the center. And the last one will be indentated to the right. And I want to have headers. So we'll define headers for this thing. And then I can say this will be header number 1. This will be header number 2. And this will be header number 3. And here we have data 1 and data 2 and data 3. Of course, you can indentate this, or if you want to say the rows in the other way, this is actually this will be 1, 1. Let's put it like this: 1, 2, and 1, 3. This is data 2, 1, data 2, 2, and data 2, 3. Save it. Refresh, there's the header, and everything is aligned correctly. And then you might be saying, Andres, okay, this is cool, I can write tables in this way, but sometimes I got my data coming from CSV files. Does that mean that I have to grab that code and put it here and then reformat? No, my friends. You can simply copy and paste the CSV and say format CSV on the table, and boom, you get everything. Yes, and we can continue showing more stuff, but the actual feature that sold me the usage of Asciidoc as for writing technical documentation is this. We have production code. Perfect. We test the code. Very good. Then we create documentation for that particular piece of code. Most likely, we have some snippets of code embedded in the documentation. We ship everything, everybody's happy. Next release comes up, we have changed production, we forgot to change documentation, we have a problem. And it's that going back and forth within production code and documentation snippet can get tiresome. Is there a way that we can somehow let the documentation know, could you refer to this particular piece of code that I had in production? Or could I grab or jank the test code and put it in documentation? Wouldn't that be greater? Right? Well, guess what Asciidoc allows you to do? Precisely that. And not just production code. It works for any file. Because Asciidoc has a feature called the include macro, for which I already got a full-blown example here. So I'm going to cheat a little bit and paste it here. There we go. So what is different here? I have the usage of some conditionals here. Why? Because I'm running with both Maven and Gradle. I will explain that in a moment. But first I want to go in this particular piece of block that I'm looking at this place. So the important piece is this block. It says I'm going to include something. Again, we're using a variable, so that's probably results to the absolute path to where I can locate a particular file. Then given the path to the source file, in this case is this source file that is found here, Hello World Java. Let's remove part of the what is coming later. Yeah, there we go. This file. And what I'm saying here is this particular block is of type source. Okay. I'm also giving a hint that is supposed to be Java source. So when I render this, it should have syntax highlighting following the Java conventions. And if I hover over the block, it will say something like, oh, this is Java code. I also would like to have line numbers. And if the code happens to be very big and goes all the way to the right, I don't want the standard or the default setting of HTML to wrap things around. I want the whole code as is. All right. So I save this. And now render. And it looks like that. Nice. I now have access to my production code, and I can put it there. Perfect. So another thing that could happen is that I'm including the whole source file, which you can see it has some kind of licensing and some Javadoc over there. I don't want to include the license. So what we can do is tell Asciidoc to include just the particular bits we want. For example, let's say our production code starts at line 4, that's the package definition, and it ends at line 30. Okay, so we take 4, and then we take 30. If you haven't seen that before, that is the syntax of Ruby to define a range. That's a new data type that Ruby has. Okay, we save. And then we refresh. Did I save? Yeah, I did. And refresh. What's going on? Did I kill it? How can that be up to date? Let's do a clean ASCII just in case. And this will for sure regenerate everything. It takes a little bit of time. By the way, even though it feels like Asciidoc is quite slow and running in Gradle, it's much faster than running it with Maven. What's going on? Is the index HTML, yes, and I'm changing the index Asciidoc, and I'm doing lines. There we go. It's not enough to say, oh, yes, a number. No, actually, I have to tell it what I want it to do. I just want to include the lines from 4 to 30. Okay. If I remember, what did I say about broken demos and this is live, okay? Here we go. Okay, so fine, this works okay. And then I go and change my production code and I start adding more things. And then suddenly, my production code now reached up to line 36. I forgot about that, regenerate my document, and now I look at this. Terrible. Does that mean that I have to go every single time that I refactor my code into the document? That would be bad and sad. Now, given that we are making use of Ruby ranges also have another nice feature. If you add a -1, it tells the structure, in this case a file, to go all the way to the end, whatever end that is. So go back, generate again. Oh, that's not going to work. It has to be this full name, Asciidoctor. And it should be a little bit faster. And there we go. Nice. Good. Okay, we're getting better. What if I only want to showcase the main method? How will I be able to include this? Because sometimes it doesn't make sense to include the whole file. It's just particular pieces, no? Okay, so what we can do is add just regular code comments following certain format. Tags, double column, give it any name you want. Like, I don't know, box main. Put square brackets is how you can tell Asciidoc, what do you want to do? I want to define a tag. What is the name of the tag? And after those things, after the brackets is where you say, this is the end of my definition. And then you copy that and place it anywhere you want to. And then you say now end, like this. I'm going to move it to the top so you can see it. That's everything that we need to do in our production code. And now we go back here, and instead of saying lines, we say tags, and give it the name is box main. And now if I'm mistaken, it's not tags on the production code, but it's just tag. Here this is singular one, and then here is the plural, box main. Just make sure it's that what I wrote, box main. Okay, good. Let's do another try here. How are we doing? So far, so good? You guys let me know if you have any questions. And boom, there is. Nice, but the code is indented to the right. Doesn't look very good in our documentation. Can we indentate it to the left? So far, what we know is that it will take the information directly from production as is verbatim. Does that mean that we have to format our production code so it looks nice on documentation? That would be sad again. We want you to be happy writing documentation. So what we can do is add more options here and say I indent equals 0 in the include macro. So now when I regenerate this, refresh, and the indentation just changed. So I can pull it to the left, or I can push it to the right as many characters as I want or are needed. Pretty cool, isn't it? There are definitely many things that you can do, but perhaps you may be wondering, okay, so how did you generate this? Let me show you the Gradle build. There are many ways for you to apply plugins in Gradle. I'm using the old way just because I like it. I'm old school. You have to apply the Asciidoctor Gradle plugin. Latest version is 1.5.3. And then you configure the Asciidoctor block. In this case, it's pretty much, this is the default configuration, since this one, where you can define a new variable from the outside. For example, this is the conference edition, and this will be version 2, or just put it like second. Come on. Second, and then we go back to our Asciidoc here, and introduction to Asciidoc, welcome to, we say that should be bold, box days Ticino. This will be conference edition, right, that's the name that we gave it, right? Conference edition, oh, underscore. Nice catch. There we go. Save that. Generate it. And now, whoops, yeah, comma, right there. Missing. Fail fast. And this should work now. When we see that, render. And there's a variable, so you can define it inside the document or outside. Whether it's Maven or Gradle or something else, it still works the same way. Okay. So that's what you need to do in Gradle. In Maven, it's almost the same. It's been a long time since I've been actually used Maven a lot. I prefer to use Gradle. As said, I have my preferences. But I copy and pasted this code directly from the README of the Maven plugin website, which is pretty good. And I just had to tweak a few of the settings. For example, the default backend in Maven is DocBook, whereas Gradle is HTML5. Another thing that is different is that Maven has a convention of source main Asciidoc as the base directory for my sources, whereas Gradle uses source docs Asciidoc. So I decided to tweak one of the two. And the rest is just the same thing. This is the real reason, the difference within those two build tools, and I have one same project, one same sources for which I have to do this. This, my friends, is my way to find out where my production sources are, regardless of where I am, or what tool I'm using. Is it a Gradle build, or is it a Maven build? If it's a Gradle build, it's a Maven build, then this file is inside source.asciidoc. So I go 3 levels up, I'm at the root of the directory. If this attribute is defined, I know for a fact that I'm in Gradle, because Gradle predefines this attribute. So I'm going to redefine the source did to be the value of whatever that is. And now that I know that regardless of Maven and Gradle, I'm at the root of the directory, of the project, then I just go into source main Java. And that solves the mystery of how this variable was computed. And as you can see, I'm using an if definition, a conditional. There is if def, there is if not def, and there is even an if eval. So you can eval anything you want. All right. I have another thing that I can show you. So once you are already you have written documentation in this way, you can add more files, you can add more sections, and your documentation can look very fancy. What about images? Of course, you can embed any image you want. What about diagrams? What do you do? Well, we'll probably grab a graphing tool and create some diagrams or UML and whatnot, and we want to embed it right in documentation. What if those things are related to production code? Well, we have to regenerate those images, right? What if there was a way to define diagrams using ASCII art? And if that ASCII art could be embedded in the document, that is exactly what the diagram extension allows you to do. So I have an example already here. I'm going to, oh, no, that's not clean. I'm going to execute it. I didn't do clean because I depend on JRuby, so it will take a little bit longer because of network to download all the dependencies. And then I open the file that has been generated. And it looks something like this. I know, not fancy. Ugly colors. I'm an engineer. What did you expect? Ray has much better colors in his presentations. So let's look here. It's a Gradle build. And let's look at the source. Oh, wow. ASCII. I can change it to a much uglier code. Let's try to put this in red, which will be color F00. And will it work? We used to say in the past, will it blend? And let's see. No. Did something weird there. I don't know why it didn't change. Anyway, maybe it's a cache somewhere, but this, trust me, this used to work. But once you start to do things like this, and I believe I have another example of a real use case. This is with a customer. Let's see, architecture, design, and here I already got the document generated, Asciidoc in HTML5 index. Now let's show the architecture document. Huge document with plenty of sections, everything written in Asciidoc, and then somewhere here we start to see more diagrams. And there's a big diagram, and there's even a much bigger diagram somewhere there. And all those things, all these diagrams, my friends, have been generated using ASCII diagram. And I'm not joking, I can show it. It's just go there into the architecture document, and then we start to see some of those diagrams. So let's make it this bigger. There we go. So there are the diagrams. So if I need to change something, well, just do it directly in the document. And you have access to UML and GraphBiz and some other tooling, so you have much better diagrams than the ones that I just presented. By the way, I also chose these ugly colors. So yeah, should do better. What else can we do? Oh boy. If I had all the time of the life, I will show you exactly. But there's one recent addition to Asciidoctor called the Asciidoctor screenshot extension. And this extension will, you guys let me know. So you probably have worked in web applications. And you need to present as part of the manual how you use the web application, right? So you have to take snapshots of the website as you go. Somebody makes an update in production, and it's likely that you have to update the snapshots all over again, right? Boring. Can we automate? Yes, this is exactly what this extension is doing. It uses WebDriver and another framework called Jeff. It's a testing framework that provides a very nice DSL to manipulate WebDriver. So what is going to happen right now, if network is working, I'm going to generate 2 pages. One of them is how do you do Google things, how you Google something, and the other is, this is just how to write Asciidoc. So you will see some flashes here. That is WebDriver talking to Firefox and taking snapshots, saving them in a specific directory that we have told these instructions all the way in the Asciidoc file, and then putting everything together. Let's see when this thing is finished. I think it's almost there. Did it finish? Yeah, nice. Okay, so let me show you the screens. Let's start with the index. Here's a document, and there's one of the screenshots that, hey, looks like a frame, like a browser frame. Perfect. You can also grab smaller screenshots. Perfect, good. But we can also look at the other one, which is how do you Google something? If you want to tell a relative that has been living under a rock and doesn't know how to use a browser and how to use Google, well, just point it to this example that you go to the Google homepage, as you can see, this the latest one, because this is today's doodle, and then just call it a drop-down, search for it, click on the first link, and hey, you can, well, you can resize the images and put a different frame so that it looks like in a mobile phone. Now, what about the source, you may be asking? Well, let's look for in the index. We see another block here. It's called the Jeff block, and it's separated by these characters. And what is inside here, this is the DSL that I was telling you about. This is Jeff code. This is Groovy code. Groovy code? Yes, with a G, Groovy. Didn't we say that Asciidoctor is written in Ruby? It runs inside the JVM thanks to JRuby, but we are actually running Groovy code inside JRuby to reach into Ruby. So, polyglot nirvana, it actually happens. It's right there. It's Asciidoctor J. Okay, so with this, we can navigate, we can handle a browser, take a snapshot, and do whatever we want. Another example would be Pig Latin. Does anybody know what Pig Latin is? It's a fake language, very popular in the US. But what you do is a very small set of rules, but I don't recall all the rules. And here's the thing, is that you take the first, what is the first character of the word, and you put it at the end, and then you add A to it. But if it happens to be a vowel, then you use something else. So you see, it would be interesting to write text in this particular language. So wouldn't it be better if we had some kind of way to translate English or any other language into Pig Latin? Yeah, sure, of course. Here is the definition of Pig Latin. from Wikipedia. And what is here is just a regular sentence in English, very popular for typesetters. And what is down there is the Pig Latin equivalent. Actually, you take the last letter and you put it in at the beginning. So, how does this thing work? Well, the sources are written in such a way that the Pig Latin is actually English. So what's going on there? This Pig Latin tag happens to be a custom extension that, just for being quick, I added it here in Gradle. You can write it in Java code or Groovy or Ruby or any JVM language that you want. And it's basically here. The rules for writing Pig Latin are this. You somehow have to hook into the Asciidoc mechanism, which is that block processor. Once you do, you're going to generate a new paragraph. And if you understand a little bit of Groovy code, what is going on here is very close to Java 8 and streams. You're reading all the content of the paragraph, parsing each line, splitting on word boundaries, and then translate each word into its Pig Latin, and then join everything again using spaces, and everything will be joined with no spaces, so you get a new paragraph. And that's how you can get to that. But that's easy once you understand the mechanism. The interesting thing is that you have access to this mechanism. Why? Because Asciidoctor builds an AST of your document. What else builds an AST? The Java compiler, because there's a Java AST, the abstract syntax tree. So given that now you have access to an AST, you can add new content, you can remove content, you can change, you can do anything you want. And this, my friends, is exactly why I refer to Asciidoc when writing Asciidoc, not just as writing, but actually programming Asciidoc. Okay, yeah, we went to that. So we saw some demos of Gradle builds. We show variables or attributes to include macro, conditionals, diagrams. We also saw the same thing in Maven. Oh, I didn't show Asciidoc, and this is nice. Let's go back to the sample project that I have here, and let's do something like Gradle clean and generate me, please, the Java doc. And I'm going to kill all those things, then show this, and open the Java doc, which should be somewhere in the docs index, right? So this will be the Java doc of this class. Hey, this looks like Ascii doc format, right? Well, the generator format. Well, it so happens that in the main code, the production code, I have Ascii doc as Java doc. And the only thing that you need to do, in that it works in both Gradle and Maven, you have to enable Ascii doclet. So in the case of Gradle, is add a new dependency and configure the doclet in the Java doc. Or in the case of Maven, you configure the Java doc plugin and add the Ascii doclet dependency with everything that you need. Boom, you're done. So what else can you do with this thing now? For example, I have a project like this, where this is a regular Java project. And what I'm going to do is, this project has some new shapes for JavaFX. Anybody here uses JavaFX? Yeah, a few hands, perfect, just one, sad. Well, two, yay. So what this project does is generate new shapes for JavaFX. And of course, you want to see how the shape looks like, right? So it will be great if that shape, the image, will be embedded in the Java doc of the production code, right? So this is exactly what we're doing. The header of each file uses Asciidoc. We generate the images and then embed back using the include and the image macros of what we're doing here. So I'm going to generate the Java doc. Ooh, see? Those are the images being generated by the build. Then comes the Java doc generation. It goes there. Come on, come on, come on. It takes a little bit longer. So now I go into one of the subprojects will be JSilhouette, JavaFX, build, docs, index, Java doc index, HTML, and then let's click on the donut. Donuts. And there's the image. You can click on another one. Hey, asterisk. How's the other code look like? You go into that particular subproject. Let's look into the sources of the shapes. Let's look at the donut. Ascii Doc, right there. And there's the image macro in order to reach into those generated images. So with Ascii Doc, now you are capable of doing this kind of stuff. There is an Ascii Doc plugin for IntelliJ that gives you very basic syntax highlighting and access to macros for creating the tables. Sadly here I have to say that Eclipse is better in the Ascii Doc support, just because they have an outline, an extra outline, but only you install the JBoss tools. So we're just expecting for both camps, IntelliJ and Eclipse, to provide much better support. We also have another tool in the wild called Asciidoc FX. It's written in JavaFX. One of the authors is actually here. They're members of the Box Days Istanbul. He has a Box Days jacket. And yeah, tooling is pretty good. Here I have some links for you. The slides will be available. The organization of Asciidoctor is hosted at github.com. The plugins we saw today, the Gradle and Maven plugin, are hosted over there. The IntelliJ plugin is also available, Asciidoclet. The website of Asciidoctor is called asciidoctor.org, which is written in Asciidoc itself. So if you want to know how this big website and all the content is written, some particular piece of documentation, just look into the GitHub repository of the website, and then you get everything. So I pretty much done, but I could talk hours and hours about Asciidoc. But so first, I would like to thank you for your time. I know you have a choice. Thank you for choosing this one. I hope that I entice you enough to give Asciidoc a try, regardless of the build tool. You can even run it on the command line. As a matter of fact, you can even run it on the browser. There are browser extensions for Firefox and Chrome, so you can render Asciidoc content directly on the browser without touching a build tool. So with this, again, thank you. You got any questions? I'll be very happy to answer them. Any questions? No? All right. Don't worry. So, niente demanda. Okay? Yes, I know my Italian sucks. My Spanish is a little bit less sucky than my Italian. Well, so, thank you. Keep enjoying the conference.